And she's looking around, and she told me specifically she didn't want to name the club because she didn't want me to get in trouble for any sort of defamation or anything like that. They leave, they go outside, and he explains that he saw a guy put some powder in a girl's drink. He said he called the police. What's up, idols? It's Cece Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I got another juicy email, so that means I got another juicy story time. All I'm gonna say is, with the tea that has been spilled in my emails lately, burning my mouth and all, I feel like a lot of y'all need to make YouTube channels, and a lot of people have been asking me like for tips and saying they're shy and nervous to start. We're all that way. I was shy as fuck when I started my channel. You just get used to it. I'm so grateful that you guys take the time out to email me and send me these details, because these emails are long. So it's long for me to read. I know it's even longer for y'all to type out. If you want to share your story with me and I can share it here, you can remain anonymous. Email me at cclesson3@yahoo.com. And I want to thank this girl for letting me tell her story. We're sticking with the Disney theme. We're gonna call her Princess Tiana. Y'all, this story is wild, so we're gonna jump right in. Princess Tiana is a model. She says she's about 20 years old, and this happened last year, so this is the most recent story time yet. A lot of the ones I've told you guys before were set in like 2018, 2019, what at 2017, now we got 2022. She was in Korea to do some modeling, one of her first gigs over there, so she was very excited. As a K-drama fan, she was really excited to be over there in Korea finally, especially after COVID and lockdown and stuff. And she knows that over there she's old enough to drink, so she was excited to get litty and have some fun. Now Tiana has a good friend over there, we'll call him Yoon for the sake of the story. He's like one of the only people she knew over there, where like they met. She didn't really say where they met, but this is their first time meeting in person, but they've known each other for a while. He's not a creep of the story, he's actually kind of the hero. Wait till y'all hear this man. Everybody needs a friend like this, okay? So he's like, yeah, I'm so glad that you're finally over here. I'm glad that things are more relaxed. You can have some fun. We should do some networking and go clubbing in Gangnam. She's like, okay, I'm old enough to drink. It's been a long time since I've been out around people. I need to get used to it anyway. She wanted to emphasize that like she feels comfortable with her looks and confident and everything, but she did feel a bit overwhelmed by how attractive other model people were around her. Chiseled features, slim, tall, like... So yeah, she said she was excited to get out, but she's also, you know, a bit nervous and anxious, not knowing what to expect. Yoon says, hey, you know, how about we go over in a taxi together since you don't know your way around, and we can meet my other friends at Karosugyo station. So get dressed, get ready, I'll be in a taxi downstairs and all that stuff. So she's saying clubbing in Gangnam, uh-oh, I've heard stories, you know, with being a foreigner. I don't really know what to expect. She didn't know if she could dress like too sexy, too casual. She didn't want to wear like pants if they weren't allowed, or sneakers if they weren't allowed. So she's like, all right, I'm wearing a black simple dress with some black booties. Timeless, classy look. That can't go wrong with that. You can dress it down with a denim jacket. Anyway, that's what she wore. And she said like they're in the taxi approaching, she's getting nervous, and then she remembered this video she saw a few years ago by the channel We Fancy, Xander and Happy, how foreigners like, oh, you can't be too chubby. They only let like a certain percentage of foreigners in, and if you do come in, you have to look really good, you have to dress really well, you have to buy bottle service, basically stuff she didn't want to have to deal with just because she was a foreigner. So she asked her friend Yoon about it. He laughed because he thought she was making a joke. She was like, no, I'm dead serious. And she showed him the video. He's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't know this was a thing. Just relax, we're here to network, you'll have some fun, you're here with me, so you'll be fine. Tiana, Yoon, he has 2 other girlfriends and then 1 other guy friend, and she doesn't know them, but she knows him. You know, she's a little shy, she's a little nervous being around all these people she don't know. It's a lot. So they're pulling up in Gangnam. She's like, oh my god, the flashing lights and the big buildings and these wide ass streets, and she wasn't expecting it to be this busy on a Thursday night. So they get out of the taxi, they meet at Karosugyo station, and the friends come up. They seem really nice and happy, and she's all excited. She's like, oh hi, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, this is Tiana, Tiana, this is everyone, and introducing them, and they all get along really well. She was relieved that it wasn't like all guys or all girls, it was a little mix. So she was like, all right, this should be fun. So as they walk over to the line to like queue up to get in line to go in the club, she asked his friends if that's like a thing, like, hey, so is it true that foreigners have difficulty getting into some Gangnam clubs and you gotta be dressed a certain way? Like basically everything she just asked you and she asked them about. They said it depends on where you go, it's not so bad anymore. They had varying degrees of what to tell her, so she didn't really know what to expect as they were getting closer to the bouncer. Like, oh my god, do I look okay? Do I smell okay? Am I gonna blend in? You know, overthinking and being pretty anxious. So they get up to the front, she gets in the club, literally no problems whatsoever. She was very happy and excited, and as soon as she got inside, she saw how crowded it was, the music's really loud, and she said she started to feel really anxious and just overwhelmed. Auditory, just and just people just. So she says she beelined it right for the bar to get a drink so she could relax a little bit. She goes over to the bar, and she orders her usual. Some guy comes over to her. We're gonna call him Lee because Lee is typically like the name that detectives and police officers in Korea use when a guy has been accused of something but they don't name him until they can confirm if he's actually done that. He's not a good dude. So she's chilling, you know, she gets her drink, she's starting to feel a little bit better, a little more loose, and this guy comes over, asks her name, asks her where she's from, asks her if she works in Korea, lives in Korea, what's her status, things like that, what does she do. And she said that, you know, typically he wasn't her type, or it wasn't anything like that, but you know, she's taller, she models, so he seemed shorter to her, and she was wearing flat shoes and he still seemed a little bit shorter, but he smiled a lot, he seemed friendly, so she was just excited to talk to somebody. And especially because she said Yoon is popular, like he's not only is he with his 4 other friends, but he's also talking to people in the club. And you know it gets like that, right? When your friend, you know, one friend who invites you to a club or a party and they're like, oh don't worry, I'm there, you know me, and then they leave and you're just like, I knew I shouldn't have came. So she had her drink and she had some dude, Lee, talking to her now, so she felt okay. After he finds out she's a model and that she's here with friends, he's all excited thinking she's there with a bunch of her female model friends. No. She explained like, no, I'm here with 2 guys, 2 girls, and he's like, ah, okay. So they're talking, they're dancing like kind of playfully. He seems like a really upbeat, nice, friendly dude. She's having her drink. She says she's on like her 2nd drink at this point, and she's looking around, and she told me specifically she didn't want to name the club because she didn't want me to get in trouble for any sort of defamation or anything like that, because she can't confirm what she saw, but she has her reasons to believe what she thinks happened. So she's looking around the club and she's seeing girls kind of like passed out and in their friends' laps and guys' laps, and it's like a lot of them, and she's like, this is weird, like it's a little too early to be that drunk, you know. She said that was just something she noticed, like she made a mental note, like wow, these girls really like to drink. So he tried to get her a drink, he tried to get her another drink. She only had 2, she bought her own. She was like, no, I'm fine, and bartender, can I have another? So then out of nowhere, like after they're dancing, they're having fun, Yoon comes up to her and he says, hey, we gotta go. And she's like, oh, like already? Like what the hell? He said, yeah, I think we should go somewhere else. Then he asked her, oh, like that drink, where'd you get it? She was like, you know, the bartender. He's like, how many have you had? She said, I think this is number 2. And he's like, did you see the drink being made? And she's like, why are you acting like this? Are you okay? He's like, come on, like we should go. Before she leaves, she decides to give Lee her contact information, her cacao. They leave, they go outside, and he explains that he saw a guy put some powder in a girl's drink. He said after he saw that happen, he decided to get Tiana and the 2 other girlfriends, round them up and meet outside. He said he called the police in hopes that they investigated, but he wasn't expecting too much because, again, you know, he can't confirm where that drink went, what it was. He said for all he knows it could have been some sugar or something, but just in case. Tiana's putting this in her head like, well, I did see a lot of girls kind of just like passed out in the club, like that is kind of crazy. And once they got outside to, you know, get some air and talk about what was going on, that's when Yoon told her about the Burning Sun scandal, because she hadn't heard about it. She said admittedly so, she was like a newer K-pop, K-drama fan. She didn't start watching until like during pandemic times. Like that's when a lot of people discover things online. They're like, oh, this is interesting, oh, anime. You know, people get into stuff because you need to find something to do in your house. That's when she got into Korean drama, she started to binge them. So she missed the whole Burning Sun scandal. So when he told her about that, she got a lot more scared, like, oh my god, is this normal here? And even I did a story time from, so me and my friend went clubbing in Gwangju. Still, this was before the Burning Sun, so I didn't think it was like a prevalent thing or something. Oh, not in wholesome Korea, this doesn't happen, surely. But this guy, I could have sworn I saw him try to slip something into my friend's drink, and that did a whole story about that. Anyway, so naturally, the girls, Tiana and the girls, they feel scared. They're like, oh my god, like this is crazy. And they wanted to do more, like they wanted to talk to the police, they wanted to see if they could ask the bartenders, like, are these girls okay? Who had the drink? Did you see who gave her this drink? But Yoon said, look, you know, there's only but so much we can do. I notified the police, let's hope that they investigate it properly. So then Yoon noticed that his friends were a bit like sad and down, and he wanted this to be a fun night for them, especially Tiana because she just got to Korea. So he suggested that they go to karaoke. He's like, fuck networking, let's stick to the people we know, we'll all just do some karaoke, we can drink by ourselves, private room, whatever, and we have some fun. So that's what they did. They enjoyed a night out at karaoke, they had a lot of fun, and she said it was great times, great memories. Yoon was a good singer, and she actually got close to the other people that Yoon brought with him, so, you know, she had 4 other new friends too. So then a few days go by and she doesn't hear from Lee like at all, and suddenly he messages her like, hey, are you still in Korea? She's like, oh yeah, like how you been? And she even told him I wasn't expecting to hear from you because it's been a few days. He immediately asked her to go out to dinner with him. And she's like, oh, you know, I'm kind of busy. And she said she also couldn't get in, you know, the back of her mind, she couldn't get it out of her head how he was so insistent on buying her a drink, and she was kind of worried if he might be one of those creeps that was putting stuff in people's drinks. And on top of that, she's like, he knows I'm only here for, you know, a limited amount of time. Why would he really want to meet up with me unless he's trying to fuck? She politely declined or whatever, but he was still texting her and still talking to her, so she was like, okay, like kind of pleasantly surprised. So like they had really good conversation even through text and everything, and they sent like little voice notes and funny memes, and she started to feel kind of bad for assuming the worst of him. She assumed he was one of these creeps from the club, but you know, at the same time, she's like, as a girl, you can't be too careful. She goes to meet up with Yoon. They're supposed to be having like lunch in the park or something, and she's in her phone. She's like laughing hysterically, and he's like, what are you laughing at? Like, you're supposed to spend some time with me. Like, what's so funny in your phone? So then Tiana shows Yoon, like, look at this meme, it's funny, right? And he goes, haha, oh. And he looks at that name. I'm not gonna say the name, we're calling him Lee. And he goes, I know him. And Tiana's like, oh, cool, like that, you know, small world. After a pause, he was like, he's married. But beyond the fact that he's married, it gets so much worse. Tiana's asking Yoon like, oh, how do you know him? Like, how do you know he's married? Like, this is crazy. Yoon shares the fact that he has another friend, and we'll call her Chloe, who caught this dude or was messing with this dude, and she's the one who found out that he was married. So Yoon's like, I don't know that much about this guy. I just know what Chloe told me. So if you guys want to talk, Tiana and Chloe, y'all can talk about it, because I don't know that much. And the thing that kind of confused me when I was like reading the email, because there was a point where Yoon goes up to Tiana at the bar and says, girl, we gotta go, like I done seen some shit, like I'm worried. So she was at the bar with Lee, so I thought Yoon would have seen Lee at that point, but apparently they missed each other. I don't know if his back was turned, if he was in his phone or what, bathroom, I don't know what happened, but they missed each other. So I was under the impression they'd seen each other then. This is the first time that Yoon had seen Lee. So now that Tiana and Chloe can talk about it, this is what they discussed. Chloe told Tiana that she met this guy Lee on a dating app. It wasn't in a club, it wasn't in person like how Tiana met him, it was through a dating app. She said, you know, they met up, everything was casual, good, fine conversation. They went out once, they slept together a few times, and they decided to kind of make a bit of a casual friends with benefits sort of situation. And after one of those said hookups, his phone was ringing, and she looked over, and it straight up just said wife. Well, it had a name, but it said wife, like Ane. She was like, oh, huh. So she decides to take her phone and then take a picture of like his phone ringing so she can bust him with it later or confront him about it later. She wasn't gonna pick up the phone. You know, she don't know what's going on. She didn't want to be that type of girl. After a while, later in the day, she decides to show him the picture and ask him about like, oh, like, what is this? Like, you didn't tell me you were married or seeing anybody. Are you separating? Like, what's the situation? So then, all he said was sex with foreigner is fun.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Oh my God.
Chloe explains that he went from being very sweet and funny and easy to talk to being cold and uncaring in an instant. And this led Chloe to believe that he was trying to use dating apps to pick up foreigners, to have a harem of foreigners, because the fact that all he said was sleeping with foreigners is fun, not like why be so specific about sleeping with foreigners specifically, you know? Like, why not say, oh, I just like sex, or oh, my wife is annoying? You know, he straight up said sleeping with foreigners is fun. So is that all he's using dating apps for?
That's suspicious.
You know, Tiana said Chloe was very sweet, very apologetic, and like sympathetic, like, oh girl, I'm so sorry like that you're going through this too. But she also felt happy for her because with Tiana, it didn't go beyond a little Jimmy two-step on the dance floor. So she was like, oh, thank God I didn't kiss him, I didn't sleep with him, thank God, you know? So then Chloe explained to Tiana that she wanted to try and call this wife and warn her, but Yoon was like, look, maybe I should tell her because, you know, I'm a guy and I'm Korean. So he's like, not to say that you would lie, but she would be more likely to believe it from me because I'm just some Korean dude, why would I lie, you know? Sad to say, he probably had a point. If some foreign girl calls you and says your husband's cheating on you, probably find some excuse to not believe it or blame the girl, because women, people always blame women in these situations. It's so frustrating. So he was able to message her and everything, but they never heard back from this wife, this whoever she was. He has reason to believe she already knew but just didn't care or didn't want to believe it or accept it. But They sent the message, they did all they could do. Tiana said the last thing that she ever said to this lead dude, like she sent him the same picture that Chloe took of his phone ringing when the wife called. And all she said was, stop taking advantage of foreign girls and go spend time with your wife. And then she blocked him. Yeah, that is this story, y'all. Like, I'm shook. Not only was, you know, I thought the whole drugging in the club thing was gonna be the story, but that was a sad part of the story. But even that, as weird as it wasn't even the main point of the story, but it was just something she really wanted to share for girls to be aware in these clubs. Like, always watch who is making your drink. Don't accept a drink from another man. These are points that she put in the email. She wanted me to share this to you guys, and I completely agree. I don't even take drinks from strangers. I'm just that paranoid. I buy my own drink. I take my own drink. I watch the bartender make it. I'm gonna go take a seat. Bring my drink over, Kat. No. I need to have my eyes on it once it's poured in that bottle before. I don't take my eyes off my drink or my friends. So I appreciate Tiana for letting me tell the story. It's a cautionary tale, but hopefully one that most of us know. And trust your gut, because she knew from jump something was off about this dude, and she didn't let herself get too close to this guy. Thanks for watching. If you did, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. I